Hello, everybody. This is Kurly from Shui Master, and I am going to read from another book to you today. And I've picked up a book today that I read half of, if I'm honest with you, and it was some time ago, but I really loved it. I loved the tone, and this author is again somebody very well known in the personal development field, and she is known for her incredible information sharing and wisdom, and the level from which she's shared of her own personal stories. And this book is called The Universe Has Your Back. And basically, I thought I'd read from this book because basically we're in times at the moment where basically a lot of people who don't even normally worry are worrying, or they're picking up on the energy out there amongst people where there's uncertainty, there's a lot of unknown. The world is operating in a way that most of us in our lifetime have never experienced, right? And and emotions can change from moment to moment and day to day. And even those people who are very together, as we would say, are picking up on emotion out there and sadness and all sorts of things. And I thought I would read from this book today because I think it's a really great book. The tone of it is beautiful, and basically it's a book that I think you might find is quite reassuring and helpful, and a good story. Actually, it's a really good story. So I'm going to read from chapter 1. It's called The Universe Has Your Back. It's by Gabrielle Bernstein, and if you want to read more of this book, you will find it on lots and lots of online suppliers, book lists, Amazon, and so on and so forth. So the chapter 1 is called You Have a Hidden Power. So we'll begin, shall we? Okay. When I was 16 years old, I struggled with depression. At the time, I didn't know why I was feeling depressed, but my feelings of fear, anxiety, and sadness were undeniable. My depression was sneaky. It showed up out of nowhere and seemingly without reason. Unable to rid myself of this problem, I turned to my mother for guidance. My mom, a hippie, meditator, and yogi, shared the tool she believed in: meditation. She sat me down on a meditation pillow and said, "This is the way out." My mother taught me her mantra, Soham, Soham, and she suggested that I sit in meditation for at least 5 minutes a day to experience relief from depression. I was so stuck in sadness that I would have done whatever she said. And so I started my meditation practice. To my surprise, I instantly felt a sense of relief. This immediate gratification kept me coming back to my meditation pillow for more. 2 weeks into my practice, I took a weekend trip to a beach house with my boyfriend. The moment we arrived, the old feelings of depression and fear began to wash over me. I turned to my boyfriend and said, "I'm sorry, but I have to excuse myself to meditate." Then I walked up to a small room on the second floor of a home I'd never been in before. I sat in the dark on the neatly made bed and began my mantra. So ham, so ham. I had no idea what the mantra meant, but I knew it made me feel better. So ham, so ham. Within a minute of breathing and reciting the mantra, something miraculous happened. Wow. Out of nowhere, I felt a warm blanket of loving energy wrap around me. My extremities began to tingle, and my anxiety and depression lifted. It was the greatest peace I'd ever experienced. I was in tune with a presence far greater than anything I'd ever known. I found my hidden power. I remember this experience as if it were yesterday. It was the moment I realized I had the power to connect to a loving force of energy far beyond my logical mind and my physical sight. It was the first time in my life that I felt truly safe. I walked out of the guest room and down the stairs to reunite with my boyfriend. My energy was lighter, my eyes were soft, and my spirit was rejuvenated. He looked at me and said, "What happened to you? You seem so clear." I replied, "Meditation." I was diligent about my meditation practice for several months, but once I was feeling better, I began to slack. I started to get hooked into the safety, power, and excitement of outer successes and worldly forms of happiness for safety. I turned to romantic relationships for safety and love. I turned to my career for a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction, and I turned to drugs to access that high I once found on my meditation pillow. I chose the outside world as my source of love and turned back on the energy of the universe. Through a series of wrong-minded decisions to seek my safety outside myself, I plummeted to a dark bottom. I found myself once again in a deep depression, but this time I was amplified by addiction and shame. Then one morning, as I sat on the floor of my apartment, coming down from drugs and alcohol, I called on that energetic connection I once had known. I turned to my mother's mantra and I began to recite, "So ham, so ham, so ham." As though no time had passed, I was instantly reunited with that feeling of love. It was as if invisible angel wings picked me up off that floor to help me step into a new way of living, far beyond the fear I had chosen. Once again, I found my way out. I made a commitment on that day, a commitment to never turn my back on the true source of love ever again. For the past decade, I've been on a spiritual journey of strengthening my relationship to that love. This love I speak of is known to many as God, Spirit, Truth, or consciousness. In our modern day lexicon, many refer to it as the universe. Throughout the book, I'll use these words interchangeably. My relationship to this energy is the most important thing in my life. Without it, I lose my power, my purpose, and my connection to love. Each day I devote to tuning into this presence of love through prayer, meditation, mindful practices, and loving connections to myself and others. I take responsibility for the world I create by making love a habit, and I nurture the connection on a daily basis. That's why, even after decades of being a spiritual student, I still have to lean towards love each and every day. This is a commitment that I've made for a lifetime. And the good news is that it gets much easier, like any new habit. The more you practice it, the more fun it becomes. Today, I have an awesome relationship to the universe, which in turn never lets me down. So, the universal lesson in this chapter is our happiness, success, and safety can be measured by our genuine capacity to tune into the loving vibration of the universe. The reason so many people feel unhappy, unsuccessful, and unsafe is they forgot where their true happiness, success, and safety lie. Remembering where your true power lies reunites you with the universe so that you can truly enjoy the miracles of life, and most important, so your happiness can be an expression of joy that elevates the world. Joy is our birthright. What blocks our joy is our separation from love. The way back to love begins with understanding how we disconnected in the first place. We all disconnect in our own unique ways. In some way or another, we deny the love of the universe and choose the fear of the world. We choose to hook into the fears on the news, the fears in our classrooms, the fears in our households. We separate from the love of the universe by giving purpose to pain and thinking power comes from the outside sources. We deny the power of love and we save our faith for fear. We forget love altogether. The metaphysical text, A Course in Miracles, teaches the presence of fear is a sure sign you are trusting in your own strength. This is a profound message, and I remember gasping out loud when I first read it. Separating from love means that you deny the presence of a higher power, the presence of the universe, and learn to rely on your own power to feel safe. The moment you choose to disconnect from the loving presence of the universe, you lose sight of the safety, security, and clear guidance that is otherwise available to you. The moment you realign with love and stop relying on your own strength, clear direction will be presented. The presence of love will always cast out fear. Being in union with the energy of the universe is like an awesome dance where you trust your partner so much that you just surrender to the beat of the music. When you begin to dance with the energy of the universe, your life flows naturally. Incredibly, synchronicity presents itself. Creative solutions abound and you experience freedom. My friend Carla is a great example of what happens when you realign with the presence of the universe. Carla grew up in a family that rewarded outside successes above all else and believed that one should do whatever it takes to achieve. As a result, she had a deep-rooted belief that relentless striving, stress, and struggle equaled success. She spent a decade building a high-powered career through a lot of pushing, controlling, and manipulating of outcomes. She believed that the harder she pushed, the more successful, happy, and safe she'd be. Her hard driving energy led her to create a career that was very impressive outwardly. Then, one day, at the top of her game, Carla had a nervous breakdown and everything fell apart. She was rushed to the emergency room and forced to go on disability to recover. The world as she knew it was over. In the midst of her recovery, something happened to Carla that changed her life forever. One morning, she woke up and lay still in her bed. In that stillness, she remembered a prayer that her grandmother had taught her as a child. It was the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi. And here is the prayer. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is by forgiving that one is forgiven, it is by dying that one awakens to the eternal life. For whatever reason, she felt guided to say this prayer out loud. Then she got out of bed and went on with her day. Although the day started off normal, as the hours went on, things got wild. She sat down at her computer and an email popped up on her screen. The email was a link to a blog I had written. This is a book by Gabrielle Bernstein. It was being forwarded to her from a friend she hadn't spoken to in years. The subject line was, "Success is an inside job." The subject got Carla's attention. She opened the email and clicked through to the video blog on my website, where I was offering tips for accessing success through spiritual practices. Carla still had no clue why she'd received this email, who I was, or even why she clicked through to my site. All she knew was that an undeniable voice within her was yelling, "Watch that video." Carla watched the video and felt as though I was speaking directly to her. The next day, she was in a bookstore looking for a novel, when out of the blue, a non-fiction book landed on the floor in front of her. It was my book, May Cause Miracles. She recognized my face on the cover and laughed at the synchronicity. She couldn't deny this moment, so she bought the book and immediately began the 40-day practice. 30 days into the practice, Carla was cruising Facebook when a post from me popped up on her screen. The post stated that I was coming to her city to speak in 2 weeks. Carla bought her ticket instantly. Carla attended the event and she sat quietly in her seat. When it came time for the Q&A, she had no interest in being seen or heard, especially as this self-help stuff was still new to her. Then I asked, who in this room has completed their 40-day practice of May Cause Miracles? In that moment, Carla realized that it was her 40th day. Involuntarily, her hand rose up in the air, at which point I invited her to stand and share her experience. Carla began to share how she had no idea how that original email made its way into her inbox, or how the book fell off the shelf, or how the Facebook ad landed on her screen 10 days before I arrived in her town. She went on to say that through her journey with the book, she had been guided to accept that her old way of living was no longer working. She had been guided to make new choices. She announced to a room full of strangers that she was quitting her high-stress job and going back to school to study nutrition, a subject she'd always longed to learn. She said, 40 days ago, I was deeply depressed, and today I know, as you say, that the universe has my back. Carla's story reminds us that when we surrender to the power of the universe, we will always be guided to exactly what we need. The moment she said the St. Francis prayer was the moment she stopped relying on her own strength and unconsciously asked the universe for help. Synchronicity, guidance, healing, and abundance are available to us all the time. All the time. Oh, I hope you can still hear me because my screen's just locked. There we go. Okay. All we need to do is tune into the energy of the universe so that we can get into the flow with the supportive, loving energy. When we're in alignment with this energy, life becomes a happy dream. So the universal lesson is when we surrender our will to the power of the universe, we receive miracles. So I'm going to stop there with the reading. This was chapter 1 in a really great book, which is called The Universe Has Your Back, Transform Fear to Faith. And I think it's a really great book. And I picked this book because of the title, because we're in a time where there's a lot going on in the world. And even if you yourself are generally in a great place, energetically, emotionally, subconsciously, whichever word you want to use, that resonates for you. The message that I wanted to get across to people is that, there's something going on collectively across the world. We can see this because there's this thing called coronavirus, which has travelled to where I am in the UK, London, 5,000 miles from China, right? So that's across oceans, continents, and it's done so at swift speed and in large quantity, high simmer. And so what I wanted to talk to you about today, and the reason why I was reading to you from The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein, is because even if you're in a great space yourself, subconsciously, emotionally, mentally, you may be picking up on the energy out there because this thing is happening across the world. So there's something happening across the whole population of humankind. And, people I know, including myself, have had moments, rather randomly it feels, where you just feel really, really sad or emotional, tearful maybe, or a sense of grief or a sense of loss or a sense of uncertainty, and that whole gamut of emotions there. And so what I'm inviting you to do is to allow those emotions, to realize if you don't understand the emotions, it's okay. First of all, you don't always have to understand the emotions and where they come from. For you to allow yourself to process them, as it's called, or feel them without understanding them is a great gift sometimes. And it's in those moments, it's really good for you to remind yourself that the universe has your back. And some of the emotions you're feeling in these days might be your own, and some of these emotions that you're feeling might belong to your local community or your neighbor or somebody else. And it's a wonderful thing if you're picking up on them and feeling them, because you have the ability to allow yourself to feel them and let them go, and let the emotion pass through your physical body. And when you feel it, see, what happens is it doesn't get stuck in the biological cells of your body. If, however, an emotion comes up and you squash it down and you think, oh, no, I don't like that and I don't want that. And what happens, you see, is it gets stuck in your body. It goes through to your biology, and it can affect how you feel at a biological level in terms of your wellness. And it can also affect your immunity. And there's lots of studies and research on this, etc. You know, by all means, go out and look at some of this. But you know, I think there's a big thing out there where people sometimes think, I need to understand these emotions in order to be able to feel them and let them go. And what I would like to say to you is that's not always true. The number of times I've had emotions, I haven't understood completely what they're about. You know, it might be a really deep feeling of sadness or grief. And, you know, and I've just thought, you know, it's okay. I'm going to let this emotion wash over me. I'm going to know that there's something out there that's looking out for me, and it's safe for me to feel this. And funnily enough, then it's not been quite as bad as I was afraid it was going to be. The anticipation of something is quite often worse than the thing itself. And so I'm just reminding you that there will be times potentially throughout your days, over the next coming days, weeks, and months, where you feel emotions quite deeply and you don't know where they're coming from. You can't logically think of a subject or a topic or an event or something that you can attach it to. And it's okay. It might be your own emotion, or you might be picking up the emotion from around you in the community or from the news, because this thing is affecting all of us across the world. Okay, and if that's what happens, just allow that emotion and tell yourself it's safe. Just say to yourself, it's okay. It's all right that I don't understand this emotion, and it's safe for me to feel it and allow it. And even, you know, so let's say you feel a little bit of sadness. So, for example, I went out this morning for my daily exercise. The sun was shining. It's a beautiful day, and there was a funeral hearse passing by with just two vehicles behind it. And I had this big sort of sadness wash over me, and I wasn't really sure, was I sad for them, or was I sad for myself, or for what's going on in the world? And I just said to myself, it's okay, you don't need to go into that, just let yourself feel it. And so you can do the same, and that's what I want to invite you to do. And just watch what happens, because the other side of the emotion, there's actually a little bit of magic that unfolds, because whether that emotion was yours or somebody else's, as it goes through your body and through your experience, what will happen is anything in your experience that's related will also go with it, or certainly a piece of it. And you will be left feeling a little lighter, a little clearer. Just like when you do a clean out at home, or cleaning out of a cupboard or something, it feels better, doesn't it? Not always easy to articulate, or not always, you don't always want to articulate it. But in the same way, when you allow emotion to go through your body, let yourself feel it, not only does it go through faster than you expected, easier than you anticipated, but you will have allowed it to wash through you and take with it something that does not serve you, that will leave you stronger, will leave you in a place of more well-being. And the other side of that emotion, I invite you to do something that will lift your spirits a little bit further. Maybe just remind yourself of something you feel really, really grateful for, or somebody you really, really love, and that you love that they're in your life. Okay, so with that, I'm going to end this broadcast and wish you all the best. And whether it's evening where you are, afternoon or morning, I send you lots and lots and lots of love, and have a great day.